Oh, how's it going?
Yeah,
How's the drive?
good. I'm like 1,200 miles into a 1,400 mile drive. So
Ugh.
hopefully I'm coherent enough to say whatever it is you want me to say here.
I'm sure you'll be fine, bro. I'm kind of the same page. It was a hot day out. I'm a little bit spacey, so we'll hammer through it.
Yep.
So I'm gonna be honest with you right off the bat. I didn't do any research into emotional intelligence. It just sounded interesting, and
Yeah. I mean, I think um, I, I started reading or listening to a book yesterday as I was driving, and then um, and then I stopped uh, for whatever reason. But what I got out of it essentially, it's kind of like the art of thinking about stuff. It's essentially being able to control your impulsive emotions, where you kind of take advantage of a situation to look at the long-term consequences of what you're about to do, rather than being impulsive and just kind of like going with the anger or whatever emotion you have at the top of your mind. So I think that's the emotional intelligence. It's
okay.
basically being able to control your emotions in any given situation, so that you're acting intelligently with
So
long-term benefits in mind.
you said this was like your jam. I was wondering, is it like do you research more like your own emotional intelligence or other how to understand others, or like is it like a psychology thing where you kind of learn how to deal with other people's either lack of or you know understanding of emotions from other people, I guess is the right way to put it.
Yeah, it's more like being able to think about stuff in the proper light, and
Okay.
not going with like the immediate emotion that comes to mind. Because like if you think of like a random situation where, even like your waiter situation, right? I think you used you told me that you were waiting table a whiles back. So
Yeah.
like in a situation like that, some shit happens, and the person sitting at the table is unhappy with the food that they got served, and you're obviously not the guy preparing the food, but you're the
Right.
guy hearing about the problem. So in
That's where my
situations like
mind went.
that, yeah, so in situations like that, being able to have some emotional intelligence is like finding a solution that may or may not coincide with how you're feeling at the moment, because you might be feeling hurt or angry or defensive or something else, because like you're basically hearing this customer like swear at you, like, what the fuck happened to my food? And you're like, I'm not the one who made it, fuck you.
Yeah, dude, and that's one thing about emotional intelligence I think is so important. Brainstorming on it before I called you was like emotions like change so quickly, and so do like you could be mad and 10 minutes later something can happen and you can be excited. So if you always react off of emotions, you're going to be like a roller coaster. There's going to be like no solid base.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think you have to be able to realize what's happening, and having enough sort of discipline to be able to not blurt the first thing out that comes to your mind, which is probably like dismay or anger or some shit like that.
Right.
Now, a lot of it obviously depends on your temperament as well, because some people feel less emotion, some people feel more emotion, some people are more kind of like level-headed, some people are more like hot-headed. So, obviously, it's not an equal job across all people to be able to emotionally or be emotionally intelligent. Some people obviously have to do a harder job controlling their emotion if they have a temperament to be more emotional in situations, right? Versus like
Yeah.
other people. But I think the outcome is the same.
Do you think do you think emotional intelligence is stronger in females or males, or do you think it's a balance, like it's a do you, I guess what I'm going to I guess I was trying to softly lean into this, but I'm just gonna be straight up. It seems like females are more emotional than males, like in general, and
Yeah,
so that would lead me to believe that with emotional intelligence, if females react emotionally a lot to things.
correct. Now,
So
yeah, I hear what you're saying, and statistically, I don't know how much, on average, women are more emotional than men. But if you take that to an extreme, women are definitely more emotional than men, right?
in my opinion, yes.
Yeah. Now, that has to do, if you're talking about the big five personality metrics, that has to do with personality metric called negative emotion, or the fuck's the name of that thing? I don't know, it'll come to me. But essentially, it's a proclivity to feel more negative emotion, and that stems from women are generally more agreeable. Agreeableness, that's the name. So women are generally more agreeable than men, um, and that has to do with just like biology, because in order for them to take care of children, they have to make sure that they have enough compassion not to fucking kill the baby when it's screaming, right? Where the men
Okay.
can walk away, women have to take care of the children biologically. So they're just
Oh
more
shit.
prone biologically to have more, you know, more of that personality trait. That's why they're more emotional.
Dude, that's wild. That's a good like. I love it when like things connect back to like just humanistic nature. You know, like it's a good point. Like guys are usually more of like and I'm talking like kind of old school, but guys are more like the workers getting through the day, you know, homestead, and then females are more like caretakers. And
Correct. Yeah, traditionally, these
tradition,
days
yeah,
it's like it's mixed, but it's still traditionally wise and biologically that's the case, because it's like, women bear the bear children, obviously. So, and they're the ones taking care of children biologically, and therefore they have to contain biologically the type of personality traits that has to do with taking care of children
that makes it
and
that makes
making,
it so
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, it's absolutely.
Because
So that's where it comes from.
most people don't think past their nose these days. You know, what's in front of them is all that they see. People forget about like uh like male and female brain circuitry just works differently. You know, and that's why I was wondering how deep you have dove into this particular subject, because I remember, all sorts of like books back in the day. What are they? I can't think of them right off the top of my head. But basically psychology books, almost like women are from Mars. What is it? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, like that type of book, that type of style. And that's what it makes me think of, is like how men can obviously be emotional and they're not completely emotionless. But when, like you said, traditionally, and we can go like back in the day, if men were hunters and gatherers, a little bit more rugged, a little bit more like not single goal oriented, but like single objective like oriented, whereas females were more, I mean, I guess we keep saying the same thing, but caretaking. They're more feeding, preparing, getting everything ready, comforting. When a baby cries, a lot of times it wants its mom. I think that's pretty cool to like see that emotional intelligence kind of come from, or link it back to those times. You can tell I'm struggling here. It's been a long hot day, but that's my train of thought.
No, it's all good. What I was saying is that the trait is called neuroticism. It's not agreeableness. Neuroticism is like proclivity to feel negative emotions more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and why do you think people prefer to feel negative emotions?
I don't think it's a preference. I think it has to do with just you are.
You're just kind of stuck in a loop, or like it's like
Correct.
you. Okay, because
Yeah, you just so, some shit just feels worse to some people than to others. It's like, some people are temperamentally more prone to negative emotions like depression, overthinking, anxiety. things like that, and other people are not. So it's like, for me, I'm not that. Like, I'm pretty high or pretty low in neuroticism. Some people I know are high in neuroticism. So like, when I feel, or I take things just kind of normally, they take things as like way worse than they appear to me. And it's just like a part of their temperament.
Okay. So feeding off of that, you think it's more like they actually feel tougher, like they actually feel it harder, certain situations like negativity or like struggle, rather than like they just kind of get mentally stuck on it and react to it more? Does that make sense? Like, do they actually feel it more, or do they mentally allow themselves to like hang on it more?
I think they definitely feel it more, but I think they also allow themselves to take possession of them. But I think a lot of it is also, environmentally learned. Maybe have gone through experience, or maybe it's cultural, or they grew up in a family that paid attention to those things, or maybe like the mom or dad had same levels of neuroticism, and it kind of got taught to them as children, because they basically
Yeah.
had to like watch their actions, as they were acting in the family, because like maybe their parents were like more prone to noticing some forms of behavior. So it's like, as a child, the shit got learned, where like, all right, if I say this, I'll be punished, but if I say that, I won't be. So it's like, it's both biological and environmental.
Yeah, my guess would be like it's environmentally learned as well. I wonder that. I mean, we were talking, I forgot who I was talking to, but just recently we were having a conversation. It was like three of us, and we were talking about adoption.
Uh-huh.
And in the conversation, one of the people the guy in the conversation was telling us that he has a friend, really good people, and they've adopted three kids from the same
Uh-huh.
family. And
Uh-huh.
they raised them, like put them in school, stayed on their grades, taught them, raised them young. Every single one of these kids ended up being like either a murderer or in and out of prison or like violent. And it was interesting because we're talking about, did that come from like their roots, like their DNA from like their biological parents, or was
Yeah,
that
quite
like
possible.
an error on the like maybe they held resentment for what happened, and there's something that like the adopted family couldn't do for them, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, for sure.
so
It
I
might.
do think that some things, yeah, it's I wonder if some things are like biologically embedded, like in your DNA, in your blood.
That's something you're born with. You can take a test out there. I think it's like it's either a free test, or some tests are paid, but you answer like a bunch of questions, and they take the answers you provide, and they kind of put together a psychological profile of your big five personality. And I think it's agreeableness, neuroticism, conscientiousness, which relates to uh, you know how you feel towards like hard work, for example.
Okay.
Um, there's openness, like that's openness to new experience, and then there's something else. I forgot the fifth one, but it's essentially like five attributes that make up your total personality. So, intelligence, and then so intelligence is a pretty static attribute. It doesn't move. Like, no matter what you do and how much you train it, like it's very difficult to move your IQ. So if you're born essentially with like low IQ, you're fucked. If you're born
Huh.
with high IQ, you're gonna do great.
So even if you study your ass off,
Yeah, it means
there's only
nothing.
so much you can do.
Correct. You might improve your ability in that specific area that you study, but it's kind of your general intelligence and ability to complete like complex tasks to do with IQ. Then you won't be able to move it at all. People with low IQ obviously aren't even wanted in the army. If you score below a certain IQ level, and army is pretty fucking hungry for people. It's like they've basically decided that if you're below a certain IQ, there's really nothing that you can do that will make yourself valuable to the army.
Huh.
because it's like shit just so complex you won't be able to complete like complex enough tasks that will make you valuable, you know.
Yeah, did you listen to The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko?
No, I did not actually. Is that where it's from?
Yeah, he has a part in that book where he talks about a SEAL that he had that was a very hardworking dude, really wanted it, tough as nails, and basically they go on like you know how they do like live fire drills, and the guy couldn't handle like high intensity situations. He'd always make a mistake or he wouldn't make like a good call. And
Yep.
as hard as he worked and as good as like perfect as every attribute was to be a SEAL, he just like they just had to let him go and basically say like this is not for you. And he
Yep.
was talking about how hard it was to break it to the guy because he knew that's all the guy wanted, and the guy just like ha- like
Couldn't do it.
couldn't do it. And part of the chapter was basically about like when to fire, you know,
Uh-huh.
like how much time do you put into the person before you decide to fire him.
Yep.
But you know, there's just something in him that couldn't understand that, like, you know, making calls on the fly and handling a high intensity situation, just he was good at everything else but dangerous to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's low IQ. So now, while low IQ you can't do shit about, um, EQ you can do stuff about. You can basically learn, you know, certain tactics that will make yourself kind of more intelligent emotionally when dealing with interpersonal relationships and situations. You know,
Yeah.
so that's something you can actually work on.
So like just like almost making it a skill set to learn how to.
Correct.
I'm hoping that like part of this podcast helps me with like being able like being a better conversationalist, transitionalist and stuff like that. Like that's part of why I'm so interested in doing this. I hope to become better at, you know, conversation and like open-mindedness. Would that be considered EQ?
I would say it's considered EQ. Absolutely. It's you know, like I said, EQ I think is being able. It's like the art of thinking. It's how to think about stuff, right? I think we talked about thinking about things in previous podcasts, but I
Yeah.
think it's kind of like a lost art form. You know, a lot of times people don't even know like what angle to come at, you know, at a specific situation. Um, and the ability to think about any given situation, especially a social one, or a complex problem, you know, I think that's EQ. You
Yeah,
know, I might be
even
wrong, but you know.
no, I think you're onto something because like even in you know like competition, like your first competition, you're shitting bricks and you're shaking. You know what I mean? And there's people who are able to like keep competing until they handle it pretty, you know, pretty well. And then there's people who like just can never get themselves over that hill worrying about that like adrenaline rush and, you know, what if this happens, what if that happens. I
Yeah,
think
absolutely. And I would say even in you know, like even when it comes to like competition and competence in the skill set, you know, there's like a whole other part of it where even if let's say I'm uncomfortable or nervous or some other thing, I'll at least try to talk to the guy that I'm about to fight, you know, so that he feels I'm not his enemy. You know, I'm gonna try to like work that social situation, and you know, maybe crack a few jokes, you
yeah.
know, maybe make like some comments so that at least like he's not angry at me, which actually might give me a better edge. You know,
Yeah, that's funny. I've seen people do that. I've noticed
absolutely.
there are people who show up to competitions and they'll go straight to the bullpen and start talking to the people they're about to compete against. And
Yeah, absolutely. Like high five. Be like, hey man, you know, how long you been training? What you doing? What you up to? Don't fucking kill me. You know, it's like you kind of like diffuse this nervousness, you know, in this situation because I don't know how he's feeling, you know, and like I might be feeling nervous, but so he's probably feeling nervous. So I'm gonna try to kind of take this tension out using, you know,
just some,
EQ,
yeah,
or perhaps EQ, you know, to at least create like a more favorable potential outcome for me.
yeah, that's hilarious. I've seen that tactic used. Now I won't think about, you know, now I'll know what's up. I'm
Yeah,
always trying to.
somebody ought to test it and try to do one competition without doing that, and try to do a different competition with it, and then see what the outcome would be. Although it wouldn't be a perfect, obviously, experiment, but I think there'll be something there where if you get a better outcome in the competition where you're basically like more social with the guys you're about to compete with, then obviously it works.
Yeah, they I always become friends afterwards. I'm like, I never really talk to anybody till after the job's done.
I don't know. I think there's something there where you talk to them before. You make friends before,
Yeah,
rather than make friends after.
I can completely see it, and maybe I ought to give it a try. But then again, maybe just introducing myself and knowing them, maybe I'll feel bad while rolling.
Choking them out.
Yeah, like maybe I'll have a little bit more of like, oh, he's a good guy. Like I don't want to squeeze. You know what I mean? Like he's not here for war.
You don't have. I know, but you don't have to squeeze hard. Just fucking squeeze.
Or yeah, he knows what he's getting himself into.
That's what I'm saying.
It'd kind of be a bad friend not to choke him out at that point, right?
Absolutely. It's like it's for his benefit, you know.
What about this emotional intelligence? Like, you ever use it with your significant other or your kids?
You know, it's tough because I think my wife is definitely a lot more intelligent emotionally than I am.
Oh wow! Kudos to you. She must listen to this.
She's like a master at emotional situations.
See,
she's got a pretty good grasp on kind of articulating her feelings in a way that, and we've been together for a very long time, so a lot of it is learned, dealing with situations in our marriage. But she's very good at basically taking her initial emotional kind of responses that come to top of mind, and breaking them down in a way that makes me understand them, even if I don't feel the same emotions in them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. So she's just like a master at it.
Yeah, man. It sounds like you guys work as a team, which is awesome, because can't tell you how many relationships, not saying me personally, but how many relationships I've seen or been around where it's like a whole lot of arguing, and there's not much like logic or like logical breaks in it. It's like a whole lot of just like emotions and resentment. I feel like that's what destroys things over time.
The more you talk, the better you get at articulating it. A lot of it is, again, just articulating how you feel, because feeling something and then kind of having those feelings burst out in something that feels like impulsive, that's a problem. But then recognizing what those feelings are, and then being able to kind of pause, and rather than being impulsive, articulating them in a way that doesn't assign blame, doesn't put the other person on a defense, doesn't kind of create anger. Just you talk about how you feel rather than how the other person should feel.
Right. That's a good, anyone listening, that I feel like that'd be great advice right there. That's a key moment.
Yeah, you should definitely say how you feel, but be like, this is what I feel, this is why I feel as such, and let's talk about it. Help me maybe figure this shit out, because maybe I'm stupid, maybe I'm fucking feeling, maybe I'm wrong, and if you put that out there, I don't think anybody you're talking to is going to basically take advantage of it. And if they do, you're with the wrong person.
Yeah, right. Or what, asking them, what got you to this point, or what made you think that way.
Right.
And, gaining trust, like, well, I didn't mean it that way, or it wasn't supposed to come across that way. Can you trust that, I wasn't maliciously acting? I was just struggling getting my point across.
Yeah. It's, misunderstanding. I'm a guy. I'm stupid. What the fuck you want from me?
Yeah,
Ask me in like 20 years. Maybe I learned something,
Because I realized a while ago that, emotions and feelings, they change pretty quickly. So basing things off of that is kind of like shaky, You, how many times, and I don't know how you personally do it, but how many times have you like disciplined your kid and you feel bad about it? Like you almost want to
all the
walk
time.
up to him and you want to walk up to him and apologize, but you're like, if I apologize, then my point ain't going to be clear,
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you act on
it's tough, dude.
if you act on your emotions, you discipline them, and then you'd walk up and you'd say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then they'd be, you know, they know you're broken. They know they got you. You're almost like starting back at square one.
Yeah, it's much easier with older kids because you can at least like talk to them in a way that be like, hey, look, why I acted as such. I was angry. Um, what's a learnable thing out of this, or what's a teachable moment here?
Yeah, that's cool because I'm used to a 2-year-old, so
Yeah, it's tough, dude.
it's a lot of resetting.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it's like to have a 2-year-old.
What out of all the subjects, and I think you mentioned like you like to study some psychology books, right?
Yep.
What got you into emotional intelligence? Or what made that stick?
I don't know if I specifically looked into emotional intelligence. I mean, I've heard the term before, and I know it's important, but I've always thought about it as just kind of like the art of thinking. It's like how do you think of a certain situation in a certain way that makes it useful towards whatever outcome you're trying to achieve. Like I always try to tie my actions to like the result that I'm trying to get, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either out of a situation or out of a set of situations.
Okay.
And then you kind of back into emotional intelligence as part of that. And maybe that's the that definition or the action of emotional intelligence. But like I don't think of emotional intelligence per se. It just kind of like it just happens as part of a plan to create a set of actions that achieves a certain outcome.
Okay.
You kind of have to see where you're trying to figure out where you're going, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you don't have the end goal in mind, like what's the point of doing anything? So like you kind of have to figure out what's the point, and then once you know the point, you kind of map the steps prior that will help you achieve that outcome, and then you plan the actions around those steps, and then I think that's where the emotional intelligence comes in.
Yeah, and a little bit.
But all this shit is unconscious. Like I'm trying to articulate it, but you're kind of doing that without even like thinking about it.
Yeah, it's such a complicated subject. It's kind of funny because it ties into so many things like discipline and like like you said before, it takes discipline to do it because if you react right off the bat with your initial feeling,
Yep.
you could be fucking yourself. So if you go at it like if you have the discipline to reel it in and think things out and then assess the situation, you'll probably have better outcomes in general.
Yeah, so I think it helps if you start with the goal, right? You need a goal, whether it's a meta goal, in your life, or it's a yearly goal, or 3-year target or something like that. I mean, you basically need a goal, like where are you going, and I think you start with like the meta goal, and what are you trying to achieve in life, and then what are you trying to achieve, or like how are you going to achieve that goal? So you break that up into smaller goals. So it's like you have a 5-year goal, and then you have a 1-year plan, and then you break that 1-year plan into like quarterly targets, and then within the quarter you break that up into like a list of shit I gotta do to achieve these like quarterly targets, and then within that list you're like, all right, how do I get each of those little things checked off my list within this quarter, right? And then you take those things, and then you basically like map them out how I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna sit out on the computer. I'm gonna ask this person to do something. I'm gonna send a set of these emails that will achieve whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve, right, on this list. Like that's item number 1. And then some shit comes up that perhaps doesn't meet your expectations. Maybe your expectation is like, I'll sit down and I'll like write something for the next 30 minutes. And then like, your baby's crying. So you're fucking aggravated because like the baby is crying. It's like, oh shit, like here goes my plan of writing for 30 minutes because I got to get up and like tend to this baby. And my wife's nowhere to be found. So I'm fucking angry.
Yeah.
So, but like, but then you think like, all right, well, maybe she's busy. Maybe there's something else she's doing. Maybe like, let me deal with this baby, and then let me talk to my wife, and maybe I'll have 30 minutes later today, and then like I'll talk to her so she's aware that I'm like sitting down and writing the shit so that she's around, so I don't have to like get up and take care of the baby.
And sometimes it just gets the best of you, bro, and you can't do anything about it.
Oh yeah, dude, shit happens all the time. Fucking driving somewhere and your tire blows out, like the unplanned shit comes up all the time.
That's why and apart, like, I'm always trying to design better habits for myself and kind of research and take on like just slowly, gradually, like, making things better for myself. And one of the recent things I've been doing is like trying to write down 1 to 3 things a day that I appreciate at the end of the day.
Yep.
Because I'm hoping that it puts me in a mindset to keep looking for things that I appreciate. So then, like, when situations like that happen, like, oh, I blew my tire out. Well, at least it's sunny out. Or, oh, I blew my tire. Well, just trying to find a positive. It's not always easy. Like, blowing a tire sucks. It's really going to be hard to find a positive out of it. But, like, just like, I want to get the habit of thinking of gratitude, yes, and a positive before a negative, which kind of feeds into what you were saying earlier, which is kind of why I was interested in whether or not you think that it's like a beatable trait, a learned trait, or like something that you're fucked with,
Yeah, for sure. Dude, gratitude is a fucking underrated thing. It's like it's a big deal. Um, shit could be way worse. Let's put it that way. So maybe shit isn't as you expect, but it could be way worse. So I think having some gratitude for the fact that you're around and maybe not as fucked up as you could be, um, is something worth being thankful for.
Yeah, and and it kind of helps my mind be in a grand scheme of things. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of my job right now. It's no secret. Like, I go in, it's like stressful as shit. I'm like, and this is like I said, the first time I've worked like at 9. Actually, it's technically an 8 to 5 every day in a long time for somebody else. And I'm like in the weeds the minute I walk in the door, basically all day until it's over. But like, I'm doing this mental exercise to get myself through the day of like, well, what are the positives? Like, forcing me to be on a routine because I have to be somewhere. It's, it's a consistent paycheck. I know what I'm getting.
You're learning something new,
I'm learning something new. I've got a multi-million-dollar company to learn things from. So,
well, you have some degree of flexibility where you can come in for date classes at least, once in a while. I mean, there's like you can start looking for these little kind of positive things in everything you do. It's like,
bro, I sneak over there. Like, luckily it is 5 minutes. It's like I think 3 to 5 minutes to get to the gym. So
there you go. See, it's close, right? It's in proximity to the gym. So there's definitely benefits. Again, it's not your own business, but I'm sure even within that there'll be like enough problems where sometimes you wish you had a fucking steady job and go home at 5 and not think about the shit.
Oh, I did it all the time when I had my businesses. Like, I all the time I'd be like, why don't I just show up, like clock in, ring people up, and leave? You know what I mean? Like, why do I have to get random texts and random people reaching out to me till like 9:30, 10 o'clock some nights? You know what I mean? Like, you always got to stay hungry. You can't like just like coast. You always got to keep like mining your sources. And sometimes it'd be like, God, it'd just be nice to clock in, work, and then clock out and just be like, yep, the rest is up to you, boss. But it's a good lesson because it's proving to me that like I want to run my own shit, or run my own schedule at least. And
Yeah, man.
it's further
Yeah,
solidifying like where I feel like I truly want to be.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, shit could be worse. It's like, I was driving last night, listening to this like emotional intelligence book, trying to figure out, what we're gonna talk about today. And then I stopped in Kentucky. My sister lives in Kentucky, um, so she's an army recruiter, and I got to her house, and we're like sitting there, and she's telling me about like all the people she's trying to fucking recruit, and she's telling me about some kid who lives like in Bumblefuck, Kentucky, and like 200 people, and it's like a 21-year-old, and he lives with his grandparents, which is like his grandmother and his step grandfather, who doesn't like him, and like his dad is in jail for like an 8-year prison sentence for like beating his mom, and his mom is a prostitute,
God.
and the dude is like he was on fentanyl, and now he's taking like 4 different fucking pharmaceuticals. One of them is a like Suboxone and some depression medication, and Narcan, and like a bunch of shit, and like,
This
and it's
just
a
keeps getting
21 year
better.
old
Holy
dude. It's
fuck.
like it's fucked up. I'm reading this shit, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, and this kid's trying to like put his life together, like trying to go into the army, realizing like his life is all fucked up. But like, again, even with all that, the shit could be worse. So anyway, so I was
Yeah.
like, she told me that story before I fucking went to sleep, and like I can't fucking sleep normally. Like I'm having like crazy dreams about despair, and I like. And I wake up in the morning, and like I turn on the book and about emotional intelligence, and I'm like, fuck, I can't listen to any of this. So like I put on Jordan Peterson's like biblical lectures. So fucking all day I'm listening to like Jordan Peterson's biblical lectures just to fucking put myself back together after hearing about this fucking kid.
No, no, David, you're running from your emotions.
I'm telling you, dude, it's crazy shit.
Dude, yeah, I mean that's insane. And I hope maybe he gets in and it changes his life for the better. Maybe
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
it's kind of crazy. It in my mind goes everywhere, but now I'm like flipping like how do you feel about like, you got someone like that who's got a fucked up life and kind of wants to get in the army, and it's might be somewhat of a gamble, but it might be, what they need. And then on the other hand, you got like programs for prisoners who, to kind of get them back on their feet.
Yep.
Like the screening process for that must be insane. Like the trust
Yeah,
level.
yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, I think people need second chances. I don't know about third chances. It's a tough gig, man, because it's like, where do you draw the line between um, being naive and being helpful, right?
Shit, this is kind of fucked up, but we were just having a conversation at work the other day about one of the workers there. They have a cousin who's like a druggie and has already OD'd on fentanyl like twice, but had like the Narcan twice. And like they just keep doing it because they know that they'll get that, it's almost like a lifeline. And it's kind of
Yeah,
like, well, you might not always get so lucky, first of all. And second of all, you're using like valuable resources and it's expensive as fuck. So it's like,
yep.
at what point do you just keep letting this person like hit this lifeline? Or like, you know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, I would say don't help people that don't come to you for help. And I don't know
Yeah.
if they do come for help or not, or that guy is coming for help or not, but like, don't volunteer yourself to help somebody who's not looking for help.
Yeah.
That's a generally good rule,
That's a solid rule.
because it's easier to bring easier for them to bring you down than for you to bring them up.
Yeah. And sometimes it's an overreach.
Yep.
You just,
Well, they don't need help. They're fine. Just because you feel bad about them doesn't mean you can do anything.
yeah. And, they might be stuck in like the loop, like we were talking about earlier. The what did you call it? The negative, like one of the negative, like constant negative loops. What
Oh,
was
like a
is
feedback loop.
is that the term you used earlier? The people who are stuck
Uh,
on negative feelings and
oh, neuroticism,
yeah,
neuroticism loop. I don't know. Yeah. Neuroticism is just sensitivity to negative emotions. That's what
gotcha.
that refers to.
Sensitivity to negative emotions.
Yeah,
Um,
you're just more sensitive to negative emotions.
Now switch it up on you. I got another subject. I was thought you'd probably be good to talk about, and we're kind of late
Yep.
to the party on this one, but it's still relevant. Um, I'm sure you've seen the video, and I don't know if it's just viral because of like my feed or if it's an actual like viral video. But have you seen the video of the jiu-jitsu instructor that was rolling with
Oh
the
yeah.
white belt and it broke his neck? So for the people listening, there's a black belt jiu-jitsu instructor. I think he was the owner of the academy as well, and he was rolling with this, I believe to be white belt
Who I
in
believe had
class.
some experience. I think he was a wrestler too, like an
Yeah.
ex-wrestler.
So yeah, that's why I wanted to dive into it because there's so many angles to this. It's kind of like one of them. I don't know if anyone's necessarily right, but it's interesting to get people's take. So the guy, the gist of the story is, and I'm sure we'll drop more details as we discuss it. But the gist of the story is for people listening. The owner of the academy slash black belt was rolling with a white belt who, like David said, has had a wrestling experience, and this plays into how everything works out. But he went for this, like, he was on the guy's back. The guy was in a turtled up position, which is basically like a fetal position, all fours on
That's
the
the shit I
ground.
play. That's the shit I play all the time.
It's a good start. That's
Yes.
David's jam. And the instructor went for a funky move. It's not an everyday move. It's not like something that you just like anyone just kind of whips out. It's almost like a finesse move. And he basically, being on the dude's back, he kicked his feet up in the air and tried to almost like force the person to front flip and roll forward.
Yeah, it's a
And
forward roll back take.
forward roll back take, and the white belt's head was stuck on the floor, so he basically rolled his body over it and broke his neck. And the guy was a quadriplegic. And I don't know
For a
when this.
while. I think he's back now. I think he's okay now.
Yeah, I saw pictures of him. I guess he's like goes hiking and stuff.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna. I haven't watched like Rener Gracie's like discovery or his testimony. My bad. His like, and I haven't like gotten too far into it. But basically, yeah, the guy was a quad for a little bit. Luckily, he's recovered to where he can at least walk, from what I've seen. And he
Yep.
sues this school, and he just got it was just a settlement for $46 million for suing the
Yep.
teacher and the academy.
Yep.
And then another level to this is, I don't know, should I wait to put Henner in it? Should we discuss it and then put Henner in it?
We can.
Into that.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, how do you feel about that so far? Like the instructor and the guy.
So yeah, I mean it's so far nothing's wrong to me. I mean it's basically, to me it feels like a freak accident. I mean
Right.
the odds of something like that happening where the instructor rolled in a way that didn't it wasn't like a perfect roll. He rolled on a side where his head was. He was actually supposed to roll onto the other side, right?
Yeah, he did the move improperly.
Yeah, he did the movement properly, but even with improper movement, the fact that he cracked his spine and became paralyzed. I mean, how often does that shit happen? I would say fucking almost never.
It's rare. It happens a lot more with
It's
wrestling, but rare.
Yeah, it's still very rare even with wrestling. And I play that position. I play turtle all the time, and people fucking do all kinds of shit in my turtle. And I think I've been rolled across my neck in the past, and knock on wood, I'm fine still. But I'm sure the shit happens. Like, I'm not sure I don't know if you can blame the instructor, but I think that's what happened, right? I think the jury basically awarded the guy money because they claimed that the instructor should have done the move better and it was negligence, which I don't
Yeah.
think it's negligence. I wouldn't call it negligence.
See, and this is like my worst nightmare. Me having neck problems. This is like the scariest thing to me. And Professor actually just said the other day he knows two people. We were talking about wrestling up and going for single legs and stuff, and he knows two people who have accidentally, went for a single leg wrong
Uh-huh.
and gotten spiked, like their head spiked into the floor, and are now paralyzed.
Yeah.
I don't know what level, but it happens.
Uh-huh.
But it's rare.
Yeah,
But I agree.
that's why I pull guard.
Yeah, right. I know a lot of people don't wrestle, and I used to think it was like such a bitch move, but like after years of hearing about injuries and shit like that, you're kind of like, oh, when you get a little bit
Yeah,
older, it
fuck
starts
that.
catching
I'm
up
pulling
to
guard.
you. You're like, I don't want to be that guy. But
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm pulling guard. No single
still
legs, no
ignorant.
double legs. Stand up shit, especially
I'm
with bigger
still,
dudes.
yeah, I don't like pulling guard. I'm still ignorant, but um, professor,
Oh, you're younger,
professor,
so.
yeah, right. I'm still stupid, but um, I kind of have the same outlook. I think it's like a freak accident. Um, I don't know to what degree if that professor was trying like, a finesse move. I'm sure he felt bad right away. I'm sure his intentions weren't to paralyze this guy.
Right.
Um, it's
Yeah, I guess we don't
unfortunate.
know. I guess we don't know that side of the story. So it's like, if the dude was being like malicious, that's one thing. Obviously, he's liable because some people you're all with, you can kind of tell they're out to hurt you. Maybe not intentionally, but like in a negligent way. Like sometimes you're all with
Of,
somebody and you can fucking feel they're trying to win at any
of,
cost, right? They're just like they're just being a shitty partner.
of course.
Like this shit happens all the time. I try to be a good partner when I roll, even if I roll against, like a fucking brand new people or, like one stripe white belts. Like even if I feel I can take somebody, I'm still trying to be a fucking good partner. I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to learn. Even on an open mat, I'm trying to work shit out. I'm trying to like, work some moves, but in a controlled way. I'll slow it down. Like I won't fucking run through you. But some people do. Just don't fucking roll with those people.
Yeah, there's people I avoid because I'm like, that person's fucking dangerous. Like whether they have the self-awareness or not, they're fucking dangerous. Like they'll either go balls to the wall out of nowhere, or they have like no self-awareness as to like, this isn't a competition. Like this is training.
Exactly.
Like, if I want to crank it up 100%, like, fucking at least tell me beforehand. Don't like all of a sudden go from 0 to 100 out of, but start out at 30 and then switch gears like to get an advantage.
Right.
But yeah, and interesting. This is where I'm a little bit skeptical because I haven't heard much of the coaches' side. I've seen a lot of like the kid and like Henry's side, but I haven't heard much like about like him or what his argument was or where he came from. Watching the video is he wasn't like the trainer wasn't like very like an aggressive move. Like he kind of kicked his feet up in the air and went with kind of like it was like a weird finesse move, but it wasn't like the guy just all of a sudden like got malicious. Like it kind of seemed like it was just unfortunate, like with how the kid's head got stuck and he was pinned.
Correct. He wasn't also bigger than him. It wasn't like he was a 200-pound guy and that other guy was like 150 pounds.
That's
and
a good
didn't
point.
feel like he was just trying to power through it. It just looked like, it was like an open mat deal. Yeah, he was a black belt. He should have paid more attention, but like, fucking people don't do shit perfectly no matter what level it is. Like sometimes you don't fucking you just roll.
That's how you that's also how you learn stuff too. Is like you get an idea on the mat and you this would go to his defense. Like sometimes you have a move, but you don't know exactly how to do it. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It just to me it felt like a bunch of shit went wrong, not just him. Like the guy's head shouldn't have been there. Maybe he shouldn't have sat in the turtle that long. Maybe he shouldn't have rolled in that direction. Maybe they shouldn't have fucking rolled an open mat at all. If that level of difference between his abilities and the other guy's abilities were that. To me, it like just looks like a freak accident. I don't see any like negligence.
All right, and all that being said, let's dive a little bit deeper here. So, Rener Gracie, one of the most popular Gracies in the jiu-jitsu community. And I kind of like what he does, like some of his content. Like the guy, I remember the airplane video. I don't know if you remember the airplane video where someone was like, they're trying to get this guy off an airplane.
Yeah.
And then Rener Gracie like basically showed how jiu-jitsu would help the person inside of an airplane, like, you know what I mean, handle somebody. Like,
Yep.
It's kind of cool. He'll take street fights and dissect them, and
Yep.
realistically, it's all for marketing for his academy. Like, come to my academy.
Yeah, which is fine. There's no shame in that.
Yeah, that's 100% fine. I mean, that's what his product is. So I guess he testifies for the kid. And
correct. I think what happened is the defense, or not the defense, the prosecution, which is the kid's side, hired Rener Gracie as an expert witness.
$3,000 an hour for like 46 hours. So Rener Gracie made
whatever.
$100,000. And
well, he named the price, and they fucking paid the price. I don't see a problem with that either.
Okay, so because there's just so much. I don't know. I was like looking into this. I'm like, God, there's so many angles to all this shit. So and you're just like plugging along here. Like, okay, I see it clearly. But the other thing is that, and I'm not gonna say, because like I said, I haven't watched everything. I probably will go down that rabbit hole. But I'm going off what people said, and I'm actually on like a Reddit forum right now, and like kind of like looking at like a lot of people's comments on it. Rener Gracie's getting a lot of shit from the jiu-jitsu community because he testified, and doing so, and this is what people are saying, he lied. And I have the subjects pulled up right here, and things that he said that like aren't really appropriate.
I read it, and I read the background behind it as well, and I heard his testimony, and I read his follow-up videos, and I kind of researched this to some degree, because I was like, what the fuck happened,
Yeah.
You can play multiple angles here. I mean, you can make a claim, and again, I think this goes. Let's break this down. Yeah, let's break this down, because this is the art of thinking. So, I think you can play an angle where you can claim that he took the money, he said some shit that wasn't true,
and sold out.
He sold out. He's a marketer. He's just this fucking, he's like, he's only out for his own benefit. You can make that claim. You can also make the claim that people that are saying that are perhaps jealous of his success, because he's running a business. He's got a big academy. He's a marketer. But he's a fairly likable, articulate guy. So some people in the jiu-jitsu community wish that they could replicate that, but they can't. So you can make a claim that people are jealous, and therefore they're fucking unnecessarily being too, even if some of the shit that he said isn't necessarily lining up.
Mm-hmm. See, now, and like I said, it all depends on the angle. And for the listener, Spotify, I have like there's a little comment thing below. It says like, what do you think of this episode? And I would love to see what other people have to say. So just type it in and give me your opinion. But like, there is a genius to the marketing side, because during this like testimony, he made sure to like constantly say like, all right, so first of all, for the listener, he claims that his academy is like the industry standard. So therefore, he is setting the standard for all jiu-jitsu gyms, which is not true at all. I think that's a lie. But it's funny because he's getting the big voice here, and he's bringing people who don't know any better into thinking like, I am jujitsu. Like I'm the standard of jujitsu. And this
Well,
guy, the instructor isn't practicing jujitsu standards. But it's funny because he makes sure to name drop. Like, you know, it's like he didn't give an opportunity from what I've read in the captions I've seen. Uh, he didn't give like waste an opportunity to be like, oh, I look forward to keeping my brand name here, student safe. You know, like
yep.
he made sure to, you know, insert his brand name as much times as possible. And then I think even at the end of the testimony, he like plugged his gym, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. But I don't know if he's definitely not the standard. In fact, there really is no standard. You know, you can kind of, if you look at standards across um, all schools, or you know, many different types of schools, there's no standard. I mean, there are commonalities, there are best practices, um, but there isn't like a dictated law, you know, in the jiu-jitsu community that says that this is the way the shit has to be implemented, and this is the way the student has to be taught. And you know, because like Gracie Baja doesn't even allow people to roll for like the first 3 months or
Right.
first 6 months or some shit, you know, where other academies you show up and as soon as you get that fucking, you know, first few fundamental classes, you're rolling.
And to our credit, there is actually a Gracie Academy like right down the road from us, and we've had students sign up at our gym because of that, because they paid money to show up to a gym where they can't even really use the training for a while. Which,
Right.
you know, that's a preference thing all on its own. Like if somebody rather go there and, you know, learn the basics before they go live, you know, more power
Yep.
to you. I
Yeah.
don't hold that against anybody. But just the fact that the industry standard, and I get it, like in court, you got to make a big deal, you got to over dramatize, you don't know where things are going to go.
Yep.
um and his industry standard, again, like we just covered it, I mean, he separates beginners from advanced classes. So like if you're a white belt, you kind of learn moves, and then it's like a lot of learning and drilling before you're actually allowed to go live, which Bobby kind of started implementing that. Like he would, like, because, you know, there is some truth business wise to be said. Like a lot of white belts come in and it's like an ass kicking because this is like
Yep.
this is a time sport. Like the more you got to put in your hours to understand so many
Yep.
little intricate things of the sport. You know, and some people get tired of getting their ass beat over time. So Bobby started implementing like live rolling, but like damn, why can't I think of it?
Situational.
Situational rolling. Yep, you got it. Where you learn the
Yep.
position and you and the guy are going back and forth in position, which I think situational is great. Like you learn how to
I
hold
think
side
so too.
control at
I
the
agree.
same time the other guy's learning how to get out of side control. It's great, and then you switch.
Yep. Yep.
And which also gives you a good understanding of where you're going and why you're going there. He, like, I think didn't he say something like you can only do moves on people that like you taught, or moves that you taught to people. Like
Yeah, I
you
don't know.
can,
No, I don't know. I think that's what he said. I think you can basically, you're not allowed to throw moves on people that you haven't taught in class, which is like that's the move the instructor didn't teach, and yet he's the one implementing the shit on the students. So like the student obviously didn't know what the fuck to do with it, and therefore his head was in the wrong position. It's like, I don't know, man. That's a strange statement because like you can show up to open mat pretty much at any school at any level. So like I've been showing up to open mat as a white belt, and I've been shit thrown at me where I didn't know what the fuck was happening, and you know that didn't get in the way.
right.
In
Like,
fact, most of the time, the head professor isn't at open mat. You just kind of show up and you fucking roll with purple belts or blue belts or other white belts who are like also trying to figure shit out. You know, and
and
that's the way, that's the way you learn the move. You learn mostly shit in practice.
and hope somebody helps you out. Yeah. It
Yeah,
and
like I learned most of the shit like in practice. Like I skipped the whole fundamental section, and I basically just started showing up to like, you know, all level classes or advanced classes pretty much at like 3 or 4 stripe white belt. And
I,
fucking I learned most of the shit because that shit was like I was in those positions, you know. Somebody had me in side control, somebody had me in north south, somebody fucking, you know, had like some weird fucking loop choke on me, and then that's how I learned how to defend it. Not in like fundamentals classes.
dude, and so and then the other thing that kind of blew my mind. There's a whole other angle. Is like, so what the fuck does the waiver do for you? Like, if you have students sign a waiver and then something happens, what the fuck was the point?
Well, waiver is a weird thing because again, a waiver kind of acknowledges the risk of injury. However, it's still dependent on you know exactly what happened. I think you have to do an investigation. I think some forms of injuries fall outside of the waiver. It's kind of like signing a non-disclosure agreement. It's like you fucking, you know, you want real protection, go patent the product before you talk to somebody. Chances are, if you're talking to somebody about a product idea and you're having them sign an NDA, that NDA can be fucking held up in court. Because I'm sure some shit somewhere has already been implemented that's similar to yours. It's like if you really want protection, like fucking don't do it, you know, or don't talk to anybody until it's either patented or something else. Same shit here. It's like you don't want a risk of injury, don't fucking come to class, you know, go sit at home.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, life is dangerous. There's no fucking waiver to life, right?
No. What about the absolute fucking absurd amount of money though? Like 46 million? And
Yeah, it's a lot.
like,
I think what happened is the gym has an insurance policy, and I believe that insurance policy denied any payments, and I think that's why he was forced to sue. So I think that's what happened, because like the had a whole bunch of bills, and he talked to the owner, and the owner submitted a claim to his insurance company, and the insurance company basically said like, "Fuck you, we're not paying for anything."
typical.
Bills. And the insurance is like, we don't give a shit. So he's like, well, I have no other option but to sue because I need the money. So I think that's what happened.
Man, it's crazy because insurance is
And
usually so honest and upfront for people. I'm so surprised.
yeah, now the other thing is this $46 million. I don't think the owner of the gym
Sarcastic.
is paying that money. I think it's insurance.
Right. I mean, there's no fucking. I can't think of an academy that would have, you know, maybe
Yeah,
Henner's,
who's got that
but
money?
yeah, that's a lot of fucking money. I don't know if there's a jiu-jitsu gym that big to even, you know, milk that out of. So I figured
Yeah.
it had to be insurance. Some. What did you notice anything else interesting that Henner said or like on his testimony?
No, no,
Forgetting
no.
some stuff.
I think he ended up donating $100,000 as again like a marketing ploy. But it's kind of honest of him. Like good job, like utilizing a shitty situation in a way that seems beneficial. Because you know, as soon as because he basically came out and he said when the controversy started, he came out and he's like, I got paid, you know, I got hired, I named my price. It was a 6 month ordeal. They hired me. They paid me $100,000. So it's like it's not like I sold out. Like they didn't fucking pay me to basically say some shit. Like I said what I thought was right, and I spent my time, and that's what I got paid for. It's not like they bought my verdict, you know. Which is actually fucking great job on him, like using that shit as more marketing. I mean, his
Yeah,
ability to market
because
shit is pretty fucking on top. On top of his game.
yeah, because now he's got a write off, and he's
Yep.
still got publicity.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go after Heather. Again, I think some people are jealous. I think, like, you know, is he a likable guy? That's questionable. You know, I'm sure he's got an ego that people don't appreciate. He's not the most humble person out there, which probably is the reason people don't like him. But he's a great marketer, and like he's a businessman, and I don't see anything wrong that he did, to be honest.
Yeah, he came up with the infamous online blue belt program. Everyone's so
Yeah,
psyched
he
about.
came up with that. He came out with that quick flip, the sweatshirt.
Yeah, right.
Did you see that thing?
I heard.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's a sweatshirt that turns inside out and turns into a
A
backpack.
backpack, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So yeah. Oh no, you know what? I do remember him posting videos of him like demoing it, where he's like wearing it and
Yeah,
he like flips it out, and it's like, yeah, but what if you got shit in it? How are you gonna like?
yeah. Well, he was on
What,
Shark Tank too, so he got funded, I think, on Shark Tank.
dude? What if you're carrying shit in the backpack, and then and then you're cold? You gotta like throw your shit away and then put the sweater on, or you gotta hold everything, or does the
Yeah,
sweater
put it in
have
the
a shit
pockets.
ton of pockets?
Right. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't solve 100% of your problems, but it solves some.
It's just funny because like a lot of the business books I read are like, you got to solve problems. If you're making a
Yep.
product, it's got to solve a problem. And that to me is just like a weird, like, why don't you just put a jacket in your backpack? Then you got both, you know?
Yep. Why don't you just carry a backpack?
Yeah. Carry a backpack. One of the things in your backpack is a jacket. Oh shit. Now you're ahead of the game. Not, but yeah, I get it. I mean, I can't knock the hustle if somebody's like, somebody's
Yeah.
making it work. I at first I was like, what a douche. Like I think like and I don't necessarily think the guy's like that crazy, or I'm not like that psyched about the dude, but with the information I have seen and heard, um, I think like it's kind of like the more I dive into it, the more I laugh about it because it's like, holy shit, that's a shit ton of money. Holy shit, like Henry got paid a shit ton of money just to show up and say some shit and then act like his gym was industry standard. And then at the end of fucking all of his shit, basically like plugged his academy. So it was like a giant, basically he got paid to advertise his shit. And then now you're
Yep.
saying he donated the money, which is like, okay, that's great, but it's probably a business write-off, which is great because there's still money going to a great cause. If he
Well,
did
let
his
me ask you
research.
this: if you were in his position, would you not do the same thing?
Mm,
What would you do?
I don't think I would do it the same way. Like if
Well,
if
what would you
if
do?
I if someone reached out to me and said come to court and testify for me,
Yep.
um, I I wouldn't lie. I would
I don't think
I
he.
would
I don't know if he
I
lied.
don't
He kind of embellished shit. I don't know if he outright lied.
I don't know because I truly feel like I would have
He
to
misrepresented. Misrepresentation. I guess
and
it's almost like lying.
and I guess
He
it
could have said
boils
shit better.
yeah, and I guess it boils down to like, is he selling out because he's kind of like a known sellout. And I think it's more getting blown up this big because he kind of comes across and like there are people like you said, it might be jealousy, but I think some of it could be true. Like some people are concerned that he's selling out jujitsu. Like, and I think that's a concern as well, is like people think because Henry comes up with all these weird like, blue belt online program, and I think
Yep.
I think
Yep.
the Gracie, actually there's a girl at Open Mat today, so I know it's true. There's like a Gracie thing where like girls get like different colored stripes on their belts and they represent like
Oh no shit.
it's almost like Boy Scouts. Yeah, this girl had 3 stripes on her white belt and it was like a pink stripe, a blue stripe, and something. And we actually asked her today, and she was like, she kind of said like, girls aren't supposed to roll guys, but we get these
Uh,
stripes as like a woman's self defense. She's like, the pink stands for this, and I just kind of looked away, and I'm like, you know what, like I'm kind of firm. Like if you're learning self defense,
yep.
like I think it's important that you learn how to roll with a guy. If you
Yep.
ever have to use self defense on a guy and you're used to fucking bullshitting with girls, you just wasted your money and a year of your time to like almost like, which could be even more dangerous because you might have a false confidence in the wrong things to help yourself.
Oh, for sure.
So
For
I
sure.
think, and I get there's more angles to it to solve that problem than what I'm saying. It's not like every girl is safe if like because you got some fucking idiots out there like 200 pounds and they're gonna go roll with a 110-pound female and not have zero self awareness as to like they're fucking crushing these girls, or you know what I mean.
Yep.
But
Yep.
in general, I'm saying like if you're a good instructor and you got a female in your class, put her against like a responsible student and let her learn moves
Correct.
and pressures. But anyway, that's just like, so anyway, it ties back to like, I think he's like behind coming up with like a lot of these gimmicks, which on a if you're looking at it as business standpoint, why not? You know, you're trying to make products. But if you're looking at it
Yeah.
as like a traditionalist, like, you know, hobbyist standpoint, you're kind of like, bro, you're fucking it up. Like, jiu-jitsu is kind of sacred. Like, it's like the anti-taekwondo. Like, we're, you know, like,
I know. I know. It's just it's like, is it a product for me? No. You know, like when I go to his academy and fucking get pink stripes, you know, as a Cub Scout or some shit. No.
it reminds me of Cub Scout.
Or you know, whatever. Yeah, does he have customers? Sure, you know. So like, I'm of the mind that I let the free market kind of dictate itself. Like,
Right. And you've said that before.
yeah, if people didn't like his shit, they wouldn't go to him. Obviously, he's got some appeal to some clientele, which is what he's trying to do. Is it like traditional jujitsu? You know, one could argue no, but you know, you could also argue that some of it is yes, because it's still the same moves. It might be presented in a different framework, and he might build different, you know, things outside of the traditional jujitsu practices. Is it a sellable product? Sure. Is it jujitsu? It's like, it depends who you ask.
Hey, do me a favor, repeat that last phrase because it broke up really bad. And I don't want you to get too far ahead.
Got customers uh, who are asking for his stuff and are willing to pay money. And you know, who are we to say that he's a shitty businessman?
Yeah. I mean, either way you look at it, I think he's successfully doing what he's trying to do.
Pretty much. And then whether it's jujitsu or not, that's a different question.
Right. And I get
However,
conflicted.
to the however, to the mass market, obviously it looks like traditional jujitsu because he's being hired as an expert witness to testify on behalf of a jujitsu gym, or you know, against a jujitsu gym. Now, you know, if you take a different black belt in jiu-jitsu and you put him against Tanner, I'm pretty fine in jiu-jitsu. So yeah, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, right? He's an expert. Like, I would say it's a jiu-jitsu. It's maybe a different framework, but it's still fucking jiu-jitsu. He's still a
Mm-hmm.
jiu-jitsu, like, he's still a jiu-jitsu expert, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just, I,
It's like,
I,
it's like, look, it's like, is Doctor a fucking great doctor? We don't know, but he's got a medical degree.
yeah, right. And Dr. Phil too.
You know, whatever, man. He's a fucking doctor. It's like, as far as the courts is concerned, like, he's a doctor. He's an expert witness. But like, what I trust him with my back surgery? Probably not.
And and you know, I guess it boils down to like the basic thought is he a sellout and a douche? Because, you know, he kind of embellished things and he went on and promoted the fuck out of his brand and
Yeah,
charges amount of money, and he's kind of known for like these kind of gimmicky things. So
yeah.
it's not like he did this and this is the only thing and people are judging him off of it.
Oh, I know, I
There's
know.
like
Yeah,
there's other things, but so, you know, and I want other people's opinions too. But like, is this like him being a douche, or is this dude doing the right thing, and is he being genuine and just making shit ton of money being genuine? But
yeah. It's strange because, you know, again, if you're looking at him as a sellout or you're labeling him as a sellout, it's like, then you have to start calling out other shit happening in the jiu-jitsu community that's fucking unethical or wrong or just fucking fucked up. There's
it
just
gets,
plenty of shit. This community is just like any other community, you know. So it's
yeah.
like, yeah, he might be a fucking shitty human being or not very honest on an integrity scale, but like, you know, like, if I need to win a case, I'm fucking hiring Henner.
And you know what? In all honesty, dude, like, and you know me, I've been sitting around for months now trying to figure out how to make money in jiu-jitsu. There's not a lot of ways yet to make money in jiu-jitsu. And, you know, if you're building a business or a brand, you got to know how to scale it somehow. So the fact that he comes up with all these gimmicky type things to,
Yeah.
scale, or, you can't really like, that's just what you're supposed to do in business,
I know.
But
So it's like, again, in the world of marketing, he's the guy that does infomercials. Think of it that way.
yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. He's like, hi,
He's like a
you want the
ShamWow
slap
guy,
chop?
and he's like a ShamWow jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah. Is ShamWow, is that the same guy as the slap chop?
Probably it's that
You,
fucking Vince Shlomi.
you remember the fucking guy? He was fucking popping for a minute, bro. He was after the OxyClean guy, and he did like, I think it was like the slap chop, and he's like, you're gonna love my nuts, and and then he got busted in like a hotel lobby because he was like fucked up on drugs, and he had like hookers and shit.
Yeah, that's the guy. Vince Shlomi is his name.
That guy, man, that's so funny. That's what came to mind as soon as he said that, and I'm like, maybe not to that extreme of a scale, but I could see like Henner, just like his energy and stuff like that. I could see him being on a video like, "You want my backpack? That's also a hoodie.
Yeah.
That
No,
also
I'm telling you, that's exactly that. Yeah, there you go. That's exactly fucking right. It's basically in the world of marketing. He's the fucking infomercial guy. He's the guy basically in the middle of the night selling you shit you don't need. It's like, is it for me? No, but plenty of people call.
If you're a girl, your backpack comes in pink or blue, and they represent different levels. Like,
Exactly right.
You can't have a normal backpack, but
Yeah. Quick flip gi.
Yeah, quick flip geese, so you're ready for any situation out there.
That's funny.
Where like, yeah, it starts turning into no-gi belts. Like, you want my no-gi belt program? I'm surprised they haven't come up with anything like that yet.
I'm sure it's coming. It's profitable. I don't see why not.
Yeah, no-gi's on the up and up. That's what he should be concentrating on. How to make some money off of them guys. It's like, what, you take the robes away and now there's no money to be made?
Well, I think the 10th Planet's got a corner on that shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I don't think there's any way they could box it. Oh, I guess so, because, Eddie Bravo could always say that he tapped out of Gracie.
Yeah, right. That's true.
That's where he got famous, man.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's good. Look, that system for no-gi is fucking excellent.
So what they should have done is the defense, the guy who owned the academy, should have went and got Eddie Bravo for his professional testimony, and then it would have been like a fucking rematch. They could have put that shit on pay-per-view. Like, I would have watched
Henner against Eddie Bravo.
Yeah, come back for your family.
That'd be a good pay-per-view event. I'd pay for that shit.
Like, yeah, Eddie Bravo versus Henner, debating on who's right or wrong, and it'd be even greater because Eddie Bravo is like the conspiracy theorist, so he can make anything work. You know what I mean?
I know, it's funny.
But hey, man, I know you're driving. I gotta get to prepping for tomorrow and stuff. I appreciate the time, and we'll have to get on and run another one back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if there's any other subjects. I don't want to leave you hanging. If you had more to add to the
no, that was it. My brain's pretty fried, so I think I'm done for the day. Well, but yeah, we'll put some shit together, and I'm sure we can fucking have a sit down and just talk about random shit.
Yeah, for sure, man. And dude, I appreciate all the people that you're plugging me into. I'm definitely gonna be hitting them up to do this stuff. Slowly growing, slowly building, and slowly like kind of trying to get better at handling strangers. Like, most of the people I've been talking to, I kind of know, or like I know enough about. But when you're like throwing me like big wigs, like you said, I don't want to ruin it, but like, financial advisor and some gym owners and stuff like that, I'm like, damn, I got to know what to say to this guy so I don't look stupid.
I got an army recruiter if you want to talk to an army recruiter.
Hey, man, I mean,
they'll tell you ins and outs about the army, and I'm sure they're fucking martial arts training and training programs.
I'm sure I can come up with some stuff for that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But hey, man, I appreciate your time. Get back safe. And are you gonna? I'll probably catch up with you this week if you're at the gym this week.
Oh yeah, I'm in tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, awesome. All right, man. Be safe. Thank you.
All right, holla.
I think the podcast is fucking sick. If you're listening to it and you're like, I don't know if I want to listen to the next episode of this podcast. You're probably a bitch ass. You need to listen to the next episode of this podcast and keep listening to it. Because my friends down here are trying to make shit happen. And we're
That's
going to make some shit happen.